Hello, my friends, and welcome back. Thank you very much for being with me again today. I told you so. I told you so. When you understand the dynamics of a system, do you understand, or at least have an understanding, a general understanding? You don't have to really understand all the details, but in general, how a system works. Like, for instance, a car. You understand what the fuel is doing. What the how do you call it? Cooling liquid is doing, like antifreeze is doing. You know the role of the alternator, you know the cylinders. You don't have to know necessarily how many, how do you call it, stops are, how many, and 4 or 2 cycles it works. You don't have to know is V6 or is 4-cylinder or turbo. You kind of know how things, the air intake, that the general, how the shifting gear is working, the transmission. You don't need the details. You kind of have an idea how it works. The same is with the country. The same is with the system. The same is on this global garbage that we have. What happens? I told you that the Americans will, I say they use him, that these guys say the Ukrainians are using the HIMARS to hit inside Russia. They just did for the first time. I don't think it was the first time, but doesn't matter. This is the first point. The second one, how far they can hit. I told you many times, these guys will hit Russia because they are at war with Russia. Hitting Russia. It's not about, we're just going to hit first, we're going to just hit the targets in the occupied territories. That's all. Now we're going to hit a little bit in Belgorod. We're going to hit a little bit in Kursk Oblast. We hit a little bit over the next Oblast. Now, no. I said they will hit how far they want, and eventually they will hit Moscow. Not necessarily to destroy Moscow, as a signal. If the Russians allow that to happen, and if they again say, that's an escalation, be careful, we have nuclear weapons. If they're going to do the same thing to this, I have 2 articles here to discuss with you, then I don't know what to say. What's going on here? What's going on? I read an article where someone very nicely put it. The fact that we are not in the Third World War yet is because of, they say, the rationality of the Russian leaders. And you may say, what are you talking about? They attacked unprovoked Ukraine. Well, if you think that way, you need to be reborn about, 5 more times. Your generations need to, climb up of the ladder of, and so on. If you think that Ukraine was attacked with no reason, not Ukraine, it was not Ukraine actually who was attacked it was in a direct way, but the fight was not between the Ukrainians and the Russians. It was between these guys and the Russians. My problem with that is that, again, the Europeans are fighting against one another. And they're going to destroy one another for other people's interest. Not necessarily European, but it doesn't really matter. I'm going to sneeze badly. Excuse me. All right, so what do we have here? Let me show you this article from the Telegraph. Not necessarily the Telegraph is telling the truth, but here it is. Abracadabra. Okay. Ukraine fires HIMARS into Russia for first time. You think so? I don't think it's for the first time, but it doesn't really matter. The first time should be the last time. In my world would be this. First time is your last time. And not Ukraine's last time. The guys who orchestrated the hit. Those guys the last time. Now, let's see what these guys are saying. Ukraine today, yesterday, the June 2nd at 7 p.m. Ukraine has fired US-made weapons at targets inside Russia for the first time, according to Russian sources. Russia's Ministry of Defense and Russian military bloggers have reported that HIMARS long-range artillery were fired by Ukraine at Russia on Saturday evening. The enemy has begun using Western-made weapons, I'm quoting, to attack old Russian territory. These are fragments of M142 HIMARS MLRS shells, said the sanctions Russian war reporter and Kremlin propagandist Evgeny Podubny on his Telegram channel underneath a slideshow of several photos. And I'm quoting, the Russian army's air defense crews destroyed more than 10 missiles in the sky over the Belgorod region. This is just borders. Belgorod borders Kharkov Oblast in Ukraine. No, I wouldn't agree with that at all. Why? Look how far these guys got from when they started. I'm talking about these guys in the West. I'm talking about the guys behind Pentagon and behind NATO, because there's not them. It's behind them, their interest actually. How far? They started with juveniles, then they went to howitzers, then they got to what? Motorized armed vehicles, right? Then they got to drones, then they got to tanks. They said, no tanks, no tanks. And then they got to what? To HIMARS. Then they got to Patriot system. Now they got to tanks, if I didn't say F-16s. What's next? Troops, just troops of their trainers. This guy's gonna go all the way, including, I would say, nuclear weapons, if the Russians do not smack them and say, as you say in Russian, pakaluku tsukuluku. That means enough is enough. Pakaluku tsukuluku. My Russian friends could vouch for me that that's exactly the translation from Russia. Tsakaluku pukuluku. Okay, I said it 3 times perfectly because I speak Russian. No. I wish to speak any kind of Russian, any kind of language. And the other one comes from Ukraine form, and it says here, they follow the same rule, man, right here. The title is, US should allow Ukraine to strike military targets in Russia's operational and deep rear, like the S, okay? The United States should allow Ukraine to strike all legitimate, who decides what's legitimate? Military targets in Russia's operational and deep rear with US provided weapons. This is said in a report by the US-based Institute for the Study of War, hard, according to Ukraine Forum. So, I think that the Russians are just holding their horses, but there will be a time when they will just, I will not say snap, because when you snap is like something maybe unplanned or something. It just happened. Oh my God, we snapped. We got out of control. I don't think the Russians are out of control. I think they are very much under control. That's why we don't have yet, and I don't want that to happen, any nuclear weapons dropped, I don't know, in Poland or in the Baltic states or in Great Britain or something crazy. Something crazy. Remember, sometimes you have to play crazy and you have to act crazy so everybody backs the fuck off. I hope that Ukrainians will not, Ukrainians as Ukrainian nation, the good Ukrainians, I know they're better Ukrainians, there's bad Russians and good Russians, bad Romanians, good Americans, bad Americans, good Jews, you know, and so on. So I hope these guys are not going to say, you know what, we're going to punish the Ukrainians, our brothers, our cousins, for those guys' interests, like, I don't know, France. Have you looked over the map to see where France is, or Great Britain, or Germany, or United States of America? They're fighting with Russia through the Ukrainians. So again, how far they can hit? They will hit wherever they want. The designated targets, and that's designated by the Pentagon, okay? Remember, if you don't, I tell you right now, NATO bombarded bridges, and I think it was dams, or treatment plants excuse me, in Yugoslavia in 1999, and the general then, when he was asked about that, yeah, those are designated targets that support the Yugoslavian military, Serb military, to do this and commit this and commit that. So yes, we're going to do that. All right, aren't the civilians helping the military in any war? Yes, they do. So that means they're legitimate targets, as long as they are not our guys. That's how it goes, my friends, unfortunately. So here we have it. Yes, they will hit wherever they want, how deep they want, and they will be the ones going to designate the targets, according to whomever, whatever. What should the Russians do? I think play crazy. You know, like, what the fuck, something like that. And smack a few, you know, break a few eggs. Preferably not Ukrainian eggs. You know, I would personally give a sign to important countries with big mouth, you know, like very populated. Not populated, I would not hit cities. I would just, you know, detonate something in a plane, not airplane, like a field with no people. I would pick a spot somewhere, make sure that if I hit over there, around is not going to be, it's going to be a little bit of this and that, flying towards Western Europe, but nevertheless, And then you say the next one, I give you, I don't have a watch. I was being robbed. No watch, no this. I'm swimming. Anyway, no, actually I was practicing, so you take them off, obviously. So, and I would say the next one is going to be in 7 hours. If you don't stop, you don't talk, 7 hours. I don't care, man. We're ready. Zoop, zoop, woo, 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 and wait 7 hours. If not, I don't know. This is crazy. This is crazy. How far will the Russians go? It's an escalation. Be careful. We have nuclear weapons. Those guys will not stop. They need a little smack so they can really feel pain. United States doesn't feel any pain. Germany doesn't feel. I'm talking about the guys in charge, not the German people who pay more for the taxes are higher. They pay more for energy and everything else because of money. That they find money always for war, but for building new streets, infrastructure, hospitals, kindergarten, schools, or maybe universal medical coverage. No, we don't have money. You said about 60 billion to Ukraine and about 15 billion to Israel, just like this. They found money. So that's a scheme. They are lying to you and to me. Thank you very much for being with me again today. Stay strong, stay smart, look for the truth, and be just.